22nd placed QPR host 9th placed playoff chasing Norwich City on Saturday at Loftus Road. So let's have a chat about what to expect from our opponents. It's safe to say that Norwich City are in a much better place than when they last beat us 1-0 at Carrow Road back in November. And I don't just mean their league position, which sees them sitting 4 places higher than when they beat us last time out. That victory was much needed for them at the time, backing up a 3-2 win away at Cardiff the week before, because before those two results, Norwich had lost 8 of their last 11 championship fixtures, having opened the season 4 unbeaten. That was a poor run of form that led to many fans calling for the head of David Wagner, but the owners stood by him, and there has been quite the shift since their win against Rangers. Because in the 13 games that have followed, they have lost just 4. And some big results have come in the last month against the likes of Southampton, Hull and West Brom. And a 2-1 win against Coventry last weekend has now put them level on points with the Sky Blues. That puts them into 9th place, one of 3 teams on 44 points, just 1 point behind 6th placed Hull City. And with the Canaries just 4 points behind 5th placed West Brom, they will be very much fancying themselves for a playoff run. The tricky part, of course, is that so is everyone upwards from Borough, really. And with 3rd and 4th places looking locked off to Leeds United and Ipswich Town respectively, unless Ipswich completely explode, there's a lot of teams here competing for just 2 places. Now that upturn in form coincided with Norwich announcing the arrival of new sporting director Ben Napper from Arsenal, who by all accounts has been a quiet presence in the background these last few months, and like our young new CEO until his recent transfer business, has had his credentials questioned for his inexperience and age. Those criticisms come in part because David Wagner suggested back in December that Napper had an exciting January transfer strategy planned, one that ended with Norwich City bringing in just 1 player, striker Sidney van Hooijdonk, on loan from Bologna, while simultaneously loaning 5 players out of the door. Now it does seem that top scorer Jonathan Rowe aside, David Wagner does currently have a fully fit squad at his disposal, and with that uptick in results since November, he may not have wanted to conduct too serious a surgery on his current squad. But with the likes of Coventry, West Brom and Ipswich all bringing in additional firepower in the January transfer window, with a minimum of 3 incomings each, you do wonder if some extra recruits for Norwich might have helped to bolster their own hunt for promotion. New striker Hooijdonk does sound promising though, with 22 goals in 44 appearances for the Dutch side Heerenveen last season, and he gives the Canaries an extra option and potential replacement for top scorer Jonathan Rowe, who has missed the last few games with a broken hand. And despite the lack of incomings, Norwich face QPR, Watford, Cardiff and Blackburn in their next 4, a run that Norwich fans will surely be feeling cautiously optimistic about. And cautiously optimistic is exactly how I'm feeling about this fixture, to be honest. The change in atmosphere around QPR over the past couple of weeks has been quite remarkable since our home loss to Watford and our draw to Huddersfield, largely in part to 3 unexpected incomings from deadline day and beyond, in the form of Hayden, Hodge and now Lucas Anderson, and last weekend's convincing 2-1 win away at Blackburn Rovers, our first win at Ewood Park in nearly 25 years, has certainly helped to improve the mood as well. Now my usual line at this point would be to note that this is a QPR side that has a habit of letting us down, consistently inconsistent probably being the best way to put it, but we have picked up 7 points from our last 9, and as this handy table from Jack Supple shows, we sit comfortably mid-table since Marty Cifuentes' arrival, and with some fresh new faces thrown into the mix, say it quietly, but we seem to actually have a little bit of depth in this squad now. That gives us more options, more ways of playing, and more players that Marty can introduce to influence and shape our games going forwards. With Hodge and Hayden impressing in their sub appearances last Saturday, and Frey getting some important minutes under his belt after not playing since last April, there's potential for a completely different looking starting 11 on Saturday. That makes us something of an unknown quantity going into this match. Now it is of course very early days for all of these acquisitions, and each of these signings do come with their own caveats. For example, Norwich fans will be very familiar with the fact that Isaac Hayden, who spent last season on loan at the club, has been pretty haunted by some significant knee injuries in the past 2 years, which kept him out for a good portion of last season, and he did struggle to come into any kind of form when he was on the pitch. So, although he looked sprightly coming on against Blackburn, despite not having played football since the start of December, it's still going to be very important to manage his minutes. Frey, I imagine, will be seeing as a substitute again, but I could see Hodges' brilliant impact on Saturday being rewarded with a start. And of course, we now have Anderson to potentially potentially throw into the mix as well. A midfielder capable of playing on both wings and down through the middle. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Cifuentes decides to use him. Now I will bring us down to earth a little bit before signing off. Firstly, by acknowledging that we haven't beaten Norwich in our last 8 appearances, with the past 4 being pretty low scoring, boring affairs all round. There's also the fact that this is a very different kind of opponent to a poor Blackburn side last weekend, one that is virtually at full strength and will potentially have Rowe back in it. Norwich will be seeing this as a must-win game to stay in that playoff race, and that on paper should make them a much harder opposition. They've also lost just 1 championship game in 2024 so far, a narrow 1-0 loss against Leeds, so we'll have to be on top form to take 3 points from them. If last week's win proved anything, it's that records are there to be broken, and anything can happen, so let's hope that the new boys continue to shake things up. So finally, my prediction. This is the most positive I have felt about QPR in months. With the good form that Norwich are in, I'm kind of feeling quite similarly to when Hull were on that good run and heading to Loftus Road. So I'm going to go for the same scoreline. I'm going to go for a 2-0 to QPR. Thank you so much for watching. Do let me know your own predictions and thoughts in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please do like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers!